Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. Jacob here. Today I'd like to show you how to make a breadboard diagnostic pen. It's a very valuable tool I like to have in my breadboard arsenal. Looks something like this. This is actually the final product that you're going to see made here today. There's a very fine tip you can plug into places on your breadboard that are hard to get to. You have an LED indicator to let you know when you have found voltage, and you have an extra connector here to connect to your multimeter so that you can see the voltage that is present here at the probe tip. Anyways, if you guys would like to learn how to make one of these guys here, then stick around and I'll show you. Alright, so believe it or not, to make this nice little tool here, it is pretty simple. All you're going to need is a pen. Preferably, I'm going to use this type of pen here for this demonstration. I suppose you don't necessarily have to use this type of pen, but I'm going to. You're going to need one of these lug connectors. I believe that is the term for this. You solder it to something here, and there's two little screws here, and you can connect wires to it. This isn't absolutely necessary, but I like to use it. Two 1K resistors for a total of 2K resistance, and one LED. For this example, I'm going to use a 5mm blue LED, but you could really use any type of LED, I suppose. 3mm, 5mm, or larger, any color. I also recommend using a pair of gloves. Okay, because we're going to take this pen apart here, and it might get a little messy. All right, let's disassemble this all the way down to this here. What we are going to do here is we are going to use a pair of pliers to pull this metal tip out. This is where the messy part starts. I'm going to pull this out as well. Okay, now we're going to use a Q-tip. I suppose you don't necessarily have to do this, but I'm going to keep ink from getting everywhere. Alright, a few Q-tips later and some dirty fingers. I have this mostly cleaned out here. So what we're going to do is, for now, we are going to put this in here. Depending on the pen that you used, sometimes you can put this tip back in. As you can see here, I was able to put the tip back in and it actually still works. If that's important to you, personally, I don't care about this pen because I got it for free. I don't think I've ever in my life purchased a pen. So I'm going to throw that away. From here, we should not need gloves. Or this cap. Okay, on to the next part. We are going to take both of these resistors and cut them right about here. And we are going to solder them together right there, just like that. There we go. That's simple enough. Not too bad. Doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't even really have to look pretty, just as long as they're connected together. Now what we're going to do, the reason why we did that first, we will come back to this here. We're going to use one of the legs that we cut off. This is going to be the actual probe part that goes in the tip. As you can see here. It is much thinner than any of the wire that I have, and it's really easy to get it in places. So we're going to take this here and a piece of wire, and what I've gone and done is taken a piece of wire, measured it the length of the pen, plus about 1/3. So I have 1/3 extra wire sticking out the end. This is just a precaution in case if something were to happen. It is much better to have extra than to have not enough. And we are going to remove this tiny piece from in here. So now we have this. This is going to house the connection between this wire and this wire. So now we're going to connect these two wires together. Again, it is not critical that they look super pretty, but do make sure that they are together very well. If they are not together very well, it is possible that there could be some type of resistance between the tip and this wire, and that would be bad. Then you would get improper resistance readings. It's possible that you would get improper voltage readings as well. Use a hot glue gun to fill this with hot glue, and then stick this inside for a very nice tight fit. So I've gone and filled this with glue. A little bit of glue is going to come out, but that's okay. I personally am going to let this dry. I don't even want to touch it here. And what we're going to do is we are going to cut it and then just slip it off. It'll come right off. In the meantime, while all this is cooling and drying, we are going to take this next piece, slide it in here, just like so. And we're going to fill this with hot glue. So now I have this end piece and this middle piece here, both filled full of glue, holding this wire in place. Now what I'm going to do is apply just a tiny bit of super glue here. This is not critical. If you ever plan on taking this apart to do something to it, then I suppose you do not have to do this. But personally, I am going to. So if you do decide to use super glue, what we're going to do is we're going to put this on and rotate it, just like so. So that the glue swirls around and gets my fingers, and preferably all of that surface area inside of there. Now you should be left with something just like this. A little bit of glue here on the end. All of this should be all stuck together nice and well. You should have a little bit of wire sticking out the end here. Next, what we're going to do is we are going to strip the end of this here so that we are left with a tad bit of wire sticking out the end here. We're going to take really anything. I'm going to use this here, and we want to wrap this wire around it like this, twist it, and push it down inside of here. Now I'm going to go ahead and solder this wire here to this connector along with this resistor. Alright, so after several tries here, I was able to successfully solder this together. It's not super pretty, but it is certainly together. Let's make sure that this is put inside of here. And we are going to bend these resistors down like this. Bring this up like so. So you create a U like this. And then what we're going to do is we are going to cut this to length, this piece here, cut these to length here, and then solder this between this resistor to this side of the lug connector. A quick note before we solder this here, to tell which side of an LED is negative and positive, I have noticed that the negative side inside of the LED points towards the positive side. So the negative side has more metal than the positive side. So we're going to solder the negative side to this lug connector here. And now we're going to cut the resistors leg and the LED leg to length. So I'm going to cut the LED leg down here, and I'm going to cut the resistors roughly up here, and now we're going to solder them together here. Alright, so now you should be left with something just like this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to lay these resistors flat like so against this pen. And the easiest way I have found to secure this is just with some good old electrical tape. Okay. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to put some hot glue around inside of here to hold all of our components in place. So I'm also going to put a little bit of hot glue inside of here to ensure that there's no shorting that takes place between these two sides, because this side is going to be connected to negative, and this side, theoretically, potentially, in most circumstances, is going to be probing positive, because that's connected directly to our tip here. And so if these two short out against each other, you can have something, depending on the voltage and application, something catastrophic. So we are going to fill it with hot glue. I'm also going to hot glue around the bottom here. So let's go ahead and let that cool down. And now what we're going to do is we are going to cut down here. And simply slide this down like so. Kerblamo, look at that. So now we have this wire connected up all the way through here. It comes up to this side of this lug connector. It is directly connected to this tip. This side over here is connected after the resistors up to the LED. So this side over here is going to be connected to negative. Over here is going to be connected to our multimeter. So let's go ahead and test this guy out. What I have here is just a regular old 5-volt power block that you use for charging your phone or what have you. Right here I have a USB cable that I modified with some connectors here at the end so that I can plug it directly into a breadboard like so. I'm going to plug this into my power strip over here, and now I should have 5 volts coming out of here. We are going to test this out. So you can see we have 5.2 volts there. So I'm going to leave my probe here connected to ground, which is connected to my multimeter, and we are going to connect the positive side into our lug connector here. So now I should be able to probe, and you can see 5 volts. Also, we can connect the other side of our connector here to ground. So I'm going to take a long black wire here. Really, you could use any wire. Connect it to ground. Here you can see when I find a positive voltage while we're connected to ground, you can see the LED light up, and you can also see the voltage reading here on the multimeter. Alright guys, and that's it for our diagnostic pen. If you have any comments or suggestions, leave them down in the comment section below. If you made a pen with me, then you can take a picture of it and leave it down in the comments as well. Thank you very much for being here today, and if you'd like to see another video, like the video and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out!